Let's close our eyes and imagine now that we're in a theatre. The audience of which we are a part are filtering into the auditorium. It's a little black box studio theatre. There's raked seating on wheels, padded seats. It smells good in here. There are heavy black felt curtains lining the space. Imagine an usher taking your tickets and closing the doors behind you before they take their discreet seat next to them. Okay, so I'm Claudia Jefferies, and Future Proof was an idea that I had, wasn't my original idea for Plymouth Fringe. Before everything had to go online, I applied with a different show. But when it was announced that the festival was going online, it just sort of felt, it didn't feel right to try and kind of pretend that this year was going to be what was expected, or to pretend, or to stick to original plans. Really, it just didn't feel right. So I had this other idea that wasn't very formed at first. I was just thinking about the limitations of where I can film, what equipment I have. And so I pictured my flat, and what's the simplest thing I can do is talk to a camera and have something that happens over the course of an evening, for example. And I wanted to allude to what we're going through at the moment, but I didn't want to explicitly make it about that and just about that, because I think at the time, and maybe even now, it's almost too, like when when a famous person dies and then people joke about it an hour later. So it's almost too soon for that. I just don't, when I see things that are about lockdown and made in lockdown and it's heavily referenced, I cringe a bit. I think it is too soon. I don't think anyone's in the mood to relive or reflect on that. But I did want to address this sort of realization I'd had that how much our kind of present peace of mind depends on being able to predict the future, like the next few months, the next year or so, and just to sort of comfortably predict that. And when that all went out of the window, it really highlighted for me, like, my relationship to the future and to the present, and forced me to kind of think about, well, how can I maintain sanity in the present? And then from there, it was just a kind of natural progression. It's just onto thinking about, I wanted to create a ritual, maybe, to make people feel better about the situation. And that then reminded me of OCD and of my own history with OCD, and how that came about and comes about through when one can't comfortably predict the future, and when you're anxious about what might happen in the future because of what's happened in the past, and because of things happening unexpectedly, and how that knocks you out of this comfortable sort of zone of prediction, I guess, which is most people's lives most of the time. And then, yeah, it was quite instinctive from there. I worked really quickly, quicker than I have ever really worked on anything else. It was sort of, had the end of July deadline to submit something, and then suddenly it was July. So I worked very quickly, and I just did a lot of free writing around the subject, really, and just sort of pouring it all out, and managed to bring it together without overthinking and over editing, which was an unusual way for me to work, but one that I found really productive. I produced a lot, I think, in a short space of time. And usually my work is very theatrical, and it's very, there's costume and there's character and there's, theatrics to it. So this was a brand new way of working for me, which is to just speak, essentially.
In terms of thinking about the stuff that you would normally do, and the stuff that was completely unique based on this situation, is there anything that really sticks to mind about the stuff that you went, okay, this absolutely is the same way I'd approach it, or something that you went, I completely have to throw the original way out of the window and find an absolutely new way of doing things? Something that stuck with you? Was there anything that really you've taken away from this experience and gone, this is something that I could do in the future in terms of approaching making work in a different way?
Because since I've done it, I have had a friend help me out and try out some exercises with me. And it's changed the way I think about making work going forward. And what I want to do is to make work that's across multiple platforms, more so than I did before. And an idea that I've had is to create, now that we can for now do some live performances, what I wanted to do was have a pre-recorded element, so the past, a live one, so that's the present, and then something bespoke for each audience member to then take on. So the project sort of it's not just a play that starts and finishes, it carries on. So each person could get a phone call, or a phone call with a set of instructions, or even a dialogue. So it's changed the way I think about making work and I'm even applying that mentally to other projects to give it a life beyond the stage. And if there's no stage available, then to give it life outside of that. And it's made me want to be more interactive. I think I'm not usually that interactive as I was with Future Proof. When I do shows, it's there's some audience participation, but it's not, I don't give people tasks as such usually. So that was something brand new that came up and I felt like I wanted to personalize the experience a bit more. And I think going forward, that's something I want to continue doing.
In terms of like what you do next, I mean, do you have any, I mean, you've talked a little bit about this idea of having the pre-recorded, the live, and the what comes next. Is that particularly, are you thinking about that Future Proof? Is there anything that you've any ideas that have kind of bubbled up post doing this you want to explore further? Any plans for the future for what you might do next?
I'm really keen to develop Future Proof more. I initially thought I thought it would just be a flip thing for one thing, like Plymouth Fringe. But afterwards, I feel really kind of invigorated by it, and playing about with it, having someone come in, I've actually started just sort of breaking up the script really and creating motifs and movement motifs and abstracting from it quite a lot. And it feels really like there's a lot there to work with, and there's so many layers to it. When you repeat something, it gains meaning, or it develops new meaning over time. And I want to develop it into a stage show with the other components that I spoke about before. And I almost wanted to be like a lecture, as it is currently, within a clown performance, kind of. kind of choreographed performance. So it's kind of moments of explanation and moments where it's lecture-like, and then moments where that's all repeated, or there are gestures that are repeated, or then I go out and then they come back in again. And I'm interested in this idea because I had the 3 objects to represent past, present, and future. And I've had this sort of idea of using enormous objects, or objects that grow throughout the piece, to represent the kind of disproportionate weight that they have on me, or on a person with OCD. Yeah, and I'm exploring with just the physicality of it, which obviously I couldn't do or didn't do this time because it was just a sort of too straight to screen lecture. But yeah, I want to explore physical space and moving and the way I treat the objects. And one thing that was interesting was we were playing about and I was talking about them as if they were really important to me, but then I'd throw them away and discard them and not comment on that. Yeah. So I really want to develop future proof. Yeah.
Do you want to just kind of let people know where else they can find out about you and your work, if you want to plug yourself?
Sure, I'll plug myself. You can go to my website. Needs a bit of a touch up, but it's does the job for now. It's claudiajefferies.com. Fairly straightforward. I'm on Twitter. It's Claudia Jefferies because there wasn't room for the S. But I'm on there. My original Facebook main account was hacked, so I can't update my artist page, but there is an artist page that is out of date on there. And it's just Claudia Jefferies, performer, I think. Yeah. I have on YouTube, I have a channel. I have a couple of videos, some listed, some not listed. I've got a film that I made earlier in the year that was from the original show that I wanted to do for this, called Stranger Danger. So that's my first kind of foray into filmmaking as well. So yeah, give that a watch. And the film, if actually it's private, but yeah, you can always contact me via my website if you wanted to see the future proof original film. Yeah, that's it.
Fantastic. Excellently promoted. That's what we like to do. Fab, that's brilliant. Well, thank you very much for having a chat with us. And again, thank you for being a part of the festival. It is much appreciated. And hopefully we will see you and your work again sometime soon.
Yeah, hope so.
Brilliant. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And find yourselves back in that studio theatre, sitting in the hushed dark, looking towards the stage and the bright spotlight. Only this time, the stage is empty. The actor is gone, nowhere to be seen.